Yo, Big D here, ranking playoff quarterbacks 1 to 14. The good, the bad, the ugly, the great, you name it, anything goes tonight. Join me going for two. All things Packers, all things Canada hockey, all things Canada curling. Kyle Senra. So Kyle, uh, who's where would Nathan O'Rourke rank in terms of Canadian quarterbacks?
Canadian quarterbacks ever, like all time?
No, recently.
Right now, I think he's the best Canadian quarterback. Because other than Taylor Eldrisma, who was I think he was on the Packers practice squad, but then he got claimed by someone else. He was on someone else's practice squad. I think it's the only Canadian quarterback in the NFL. I guess Nathan's brother Curtis. He's on IR on the 49ers, but he is in the NFL. But yeah, Nathan Rourke. He just put together the greatest Canadian quarterback season in CFL history. First, he did what the Bears couldn't do. A Canadian quarterback had never thrown for 4,000 yards. And I know that happened with the Bears, where a Bears quarterback had never thrown for 4,000 yards. Well, the Canadian quarterback one's done. Rourke not only did that, he threw for 5,000. So he smashed that record. The Bears are still waiting for their 4,000.
Yeah, at least you have Chuffle Hubbard this weekend.
That's true. Yeah, there's some. I think the Rams have a defensive lineman that's Canadian as well. I think there's a few Canadians still playing in the NFL playoffs.
So, every year or so, once or twice a year, I bring on Kyle and we do like quarterback rankings, coach rankings. I think we've done like top 10 all-time coaches. Today
we're going to do that earlier. I love ranking everything. So
today we're going to do playoff quarterback rankings. So Kyle, that's my guess. You can either receive or defer, and knowing what you Packers usually do, I have a sense of what you will do.
I guess my first comment is, I guess, really a question. And was number 14 the easiest to rank? The last one was that the most obvious? Because it was for me.
Yes, 14 was fairly simple for me. But do you want to defer or receive first? Because Kyle and I will go.
I'll do what the Packers seem to always do and defer. So.
Okay. So I
gotta stick with the Packers. Go Pack, go.
I will happily oblige. Kyle and I will go back and forth. We'll reveal this. I'll go first, then he will respond, and then we'll flip it. So I'll go first with the even ones. Kyle will go first for the odd ones. So, with very little suspense here, 14 is Bryce Young, and I didn't even think about it. Despite the numbers, 23 touchdowns, 11 picks, be honest with you, I don't even know how this game's in Charlotte, but the Panthers ended up winning a crappy division.
The South, typically the worst division in football. I know sometimes it's the AFC South. Not this year. Very strong division, the AFC South. So kudos to you guys. Looking at the numbers, it seemed from the eye test. I think I agree with you. Like before I even looked at any numbers and thought of the list in my head, I had a pretty good idea. But I think I know who the top 5 are. Pretty sure I know who the last one is. And sure enough, the numbers confirmed it. So among all 14 quarterbacks that we're ranking here, Bryce Young has the lowest career passing touchdown rate, 3.5%. So already, the first thing I looked at, just how are you as a quarterback through your whole career? He's the worst. He's 14. So he already started off as low as he could. If you look just this year's touchdown rate, 4.8%. By far the best he's ever had. It smashed all his previous numbers. That was still only good for 11th. There were only 3 quarterbacks with worse touchdown rates. And the worst of the 14 playoff quarterbacks, the worst touchdown rate this year was 4.2%. So not much lower than Bryce Young's 4.8. So and then you have the fact that there's only 3 quarterbacks this year starting that have not played a playoff game. I think that does put them at a disadvantage with the lack of experience. So he's been awful as a regular season quarterback, relatively speaking. Yes, this year was better, but still barely good enough to not be the worst this year. And then you have no playoff numbers to also add to it or back it up. I thought easily Bryce Young was number
14. And I don't know what it is, but there's always something where a quarterback making his first playoff start is not usually great. I mean, Peyton Manning lost his first playoff game to the Titans.
Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he played really well, but he lost his first game because he threw an interception in overtime to the Cardinals.
Yeah, Cole Dansby and Glendale won it in that crazy shootout game.
Yeah, and we'll get to some other quarterbacks soon, really soon, that have disappointing games. But I think in the same vein as Bryce Young, someone who has no playoff experience and a low career touchdown rate. Maybe this is the Packers homer in me, but I'm pretty confident Green Bay could win because I have Caleb Williams at 13. So when we talked about Bryce Young being 14th in career touchdown rate among all these quarterbacks, Caleb Williams is 12th at 4.1%. And doing a study a couple years ago, between 2011 and now up to 2024, I guess to add the 25 numbers, but between that, I guess, 14-year stretch, average touchdown rate for a rookie quarterback that was drafted in the first round, just that rookie season was 4%. And so Caleb Williams is basically now for his career about where he should be as a rookie. Like 4.1 is just barely over the rookie average as a first year. So he hasn't really been that great. I know it's won this year, and he's had some games where he's performed really well, but the floor is still fairly low. Not quite as low as Bryce Young, where you can go through a whole game with less than 60 passing yards. It's pretty brutal. So, but yeah, Caleb Williams, I mentioned Young had there were only 3 quarterbacks with a worse touchdown rate this year than Bryce Young. Caleb Williams is one of those. At 4.7%, he's 12th among quarterbacks. And then no playoff experience. How is he going to fare in his first matchup? I know as a Packers fan, I was really hoping to get the Bears. I did not want to have to face the Eagles in the wild card round. Did not go well last year. Let's.
You're like, don't send us to the city of brotherly love.
So when the Lions had that, no love. Keep love out of that city, out of the city of brotherly love. That's a good point. But when the Lions were winning early, oh no! And then later checked the score to see if the Eagles actually lost, and so they stayed as the 3 seed. That made me so happy. And yeah, am I being too harsh on Caleb Williams? But because this is objectively where the numbers kind of stay, he should be at 13, maybe up a couple spots, but I'm putting him at 13 on my list.
Yeah, I think part of Caleb Williams' problems is that he's a little inconsistent accuracy wise. I mean, Caleb makes some great throws to one to DJ Moore in week 16, but there's not enough screen passes. I mean, the Bears throw the ball deep, but one good thing about Caleb this year, he's not been sacked near like what he was last year.
Yeah, that's true. He's been better at avoiding the sacks this year. Still, I think he's thrown more interceptions this year. That was something he was actually really good at last year. But again, the touchdowns haven't been as high as they need to be. At least not for me to rank him any higher than this.
Number 13. I agonize, but Aaron Rodgers is 13 on my list. This was done after the Sunday night game. I mean, Rodgers put together great game. I thought Rodgers made some big throws to Austin. That throw the Gainwell in Detroit, once to DK Metcalf early in the year. I think Rodgers has looked far better at 42 than I thought he would. I think Rodgers, 24-7? Sure, Aaron Rodgers not what he was in Green Bay. Nobody is at 42 unless you have Tom Brady. But, Aaron Rodgers, I find this stat to be interesting. Only AFC starting quarterback with a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, and I had looked at that. There's only 3 of them total of the guys starting that have Super Bowl rings. Only 4 that have actually played in the Super Bowl.
And 3 of them are NFC quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, he's the experienced one in the conference. That's for sure.
And
I guess my quick comment before you get to 12 was you asked me if there's going to be any surprises on my list based on how where you have Rodgers at 13. I'd say how high I have Rodgers is probably going to be my surprise. But again, maybe I'm wearing too many Packers rose-colored glasses. I don't know. We'll see.
And number 12, right with you, Caleb Williams is number 12 on my list. Talent-wise, I love a lot about Caleb. Maybe he'll end up being second coming, the Bears' greatest quarterback of all time. Maybe he'll be Detroit's. Maybe he'll be Chicago's version of Bobby Lane for all we know. But a lot of what I see with, I don't know what it is, but the Bears never start off games really well. I mean, they were down 16-0 against the Lions, down big to the Packers a couple weeks ago. I feel like if the Bears are going to go deep in the playoffs, Caleb's going to need to start fast.
Yeah, I'll give you that. That was a problem he had last year too. So it's like Ben Johnson hasn't. He's I think maybe again gotten him to take less sacks, but there's still the offense not maybe starting on time in the first quarter is still a problem. It seems. So the Rodgers conundrum was what am I evaluating? Because I did ask myself like what am I actually looking at? Am I looking at just who's the likeliest to move forward? Then yeah, I'd have Rodgers pretty low. But if I'm looking at who do I think will play well in those games, that's where I've ranked it like that, and that's why Rodgers is maybe a bit higher, certainly higher than. And I think this guy is maybe proof of that exact. If I was ranking this just based on who I thought has the likeliest to win the Super Bowl, I would have Bo Nix a lot higher than 12. They've got the first round bye, so that's already giving them a bit of an edge. And yeah, the home game's there, but certainly one less game to have to play, that gives you mathematical such a huge edge. The problem is, I mean, and we're going to get to this about the next guy on my list, but someone we've talked about, oh my God, the first start was so horrible. The big games are so horrible. Something that kind of got hidden, and maybe it was because the expectations for Bo Nix last year were not high at all. Everyone was kind of laughing at the Broncos. I mean, I didn't think they'd be a playoff team. And yet here they were. Bo Nix played pretty bad last year in the playoffs against the Bills. The opening drive, great. He scored a touchdown, and I think they maybe got a field goal later in the game, but that's it. Like the offense was pretty inept. He threw for only 144 yards, 6.5 yards per attempt, which based on quarterback's career playoff average, 6.5 yards per attempt is 9. So it's a little higher than my 12th ranking. Same with his completion percentage in the playoffs last year was 59%, and that's 10th among quarterbacks. But again, there's 3 quarterbacks that also aren't ranked because they don't have playoff stats. So I think there's 11, right? So that's the third lowest yards per attempt, third lowest completion percent, third lowest, the lowest yards per game in his playoff career. So again, the playoff numbers look horrible. The regular season numbers for Bo Nix have been decent. His career touchdown rate in the regular season is 4.7%. That puts him 7th, so right in the middle of this list. So if you looked at his career as a whole, he should probably be higher. But how bad he played in last year's playoffs gives me pause. And it just kind of worked out that he fit into a tier of 3 guys that have that exact same problem. They've been much better in the regular season than they have been in the playoffs. He was by far the worst in the playoffs. So that's why I've got Bo Nix all the way down to 12. I don't know. Maybe that's the surprise in terms of how low it is.
Oh, I hope Sean Payton's not tuning into this stream.
Well, hi, Sean, if you are. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting
He's
Dylan.
an Illinois quarterback.
So do you have anything to say about Bo Nix, or do you want to save that? Want me to get to
I'll save my spiel on Bo Nix for later.
Okay. So my number 11, the exact same thing. It's okay. The career numbers, really haven't been great. His career touchdown rate is 4.4%, 10th among quarterbacks, so it's pretty low. This year it was 5.5, and as great of a season he had last year, he might have even had a better year this year. That's Sam Darnold. But the problem is, again, the playoff numbers. In his playoff debut last year, only threw 1 touchdown, threw for 245 yards. So based on his yards per game,
and a lot of sacks.
Well, yeah, it took a ton of sacks. That would be 7th, and that's not great. The yards per attempt, 6.1, and I guess that adds into it, right? It was the pressure. He A, can't throw deep when he's feeling too much pressure, and B, he just takes too many sacks. So 6.1%. I mean, there's only one quarterback that has a lower yards per attempt in the playoffs for his career. 62.5% completion. Again, that was 8th among the quarterbacks for their playoffs. So the one stat where it really stands out is just how good Darnold did this year. 5.5% touchdown rate versus Bo Nix 4.2% touchdown rate. It was actually the lowest of all the quarterbacks this year. So that was even surprising for me. I figured I'd have Darnold pretty low. If you had told me I would have had him 11th before I did the whole list, I think I would have been surprised by that. Oh, really? Like there's 3 quarterbacks below him. That's interesting. But honestly, based on how they've played this year, how they both played in the playoffs last year, I have Sam Darnold 1 spot ahead of Bo Nix. Those really similar arguments to me, almost the same quarterbacks.
Interesting. I mean, that Sam Darnold's been unbelievable the last two regular seasons. I think he's won 14 games and not even the top 10.
Yeah, and I mean, 14. I think is he only the fifth quarterback in NFL history to win 14 games in consecutive years? Now there was a lot of years, like even some early Joe Montana years, where they only played 14 games. So unless he went perfect, that would have been impossible. But Joe played enough 16 game seasons that it's surprising Montana's not on that list. Yeah, up there with Rodgers, Favre, Manning, Brady. That's quite a list to be in. Sam Darnold. That seems like the derpy dragon if I've ever seen one. Like four really like unreal first ballot Hall of Fame dragons, and then Sam Darnold, and he's scared because there's a ghost in the corner. Why are you scared? You're a dragon. I'm sorry.
I've seen ghostly dragons.
that would be scary, to be fair. Maybe that's how. Like do electric do machines dream of electric sheep? Right? Do dragons fear dragon ghosts?
You know what? Number 11 to me was the hardest choice bar none. And honestly, I think I lost sleep over this pick because I know you're going to have him way higher, and maybe I'm downgrading him based on the year or based on the what is this, the offensive coaching staff. But this pick hurts, and this pick hurts for me, and I love Jalen Hurts, but I cannot rank him higher. I cannot rank him higher than 11 on my list. I mean,
bad year. Yeah, this surprised me. That's actually not the name I thought you were going with when you said it would disappoint you. Wow.
I mean, yes. I mean, barely threw for what 3,200 yards. I mean, touchdowns. I mean, the Eagles left me wanting more. They were halves this year where the Eagles just didn't know how to move the ball. I mean, L.A., Tampa, even the Buffalo Week 17 game, Eagles moved the ball for 17 yards. And I know, and maybe the Eagles were saving some plays for the playoffs, but maybe it's the coaches. Maybe I'm downgrading Hurts based on the year he's had. I mean, I know it's probably wrong that last year's Super Bowl MVP is 11, but that's all I can put. This is in fantasy. And Jalen Hurts is one of two non-first round drafted quarterbacks in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, him and Purdy. That's it. Yeah. I guess he's been so bad this year. And I guess you've kind of stated this already. We already talked about like there's only 3 Super Bowl winners on this list. 2 of them are outside your top 10. So past Super Bowl experience is far less important than how are they playing right now. Clearly, you've put the emphasis on your list on this year play as being the most important thing.
Yes.
From that perspective, it's surprising, but it makes sense.
Number 10, I'm going for an AFC South quarterback. Now, the question is, which one?
That's funny. I've got them close together as well.
I'm going with CJ Stroud. There's a lot I like about CJ Stroud. I think one of the best pure throws in football this year. Double concussion injury this year. But CJ Stroud's 2-0 wildcard weekend, led his team to the playoffs 3 straight years. But again, with Houston this year, great defense, but that offense just leaves way too many points on the table in the red zone. Might not bite him in the you-know-what against Pittsburgh, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I wish CJ Stroud would run more because I think he can run.
But I mean, you mentioned concussion, injuries. Clearly, he's someone who's very concerned with the itch. Like, I guess quarterback running can actually protect quarterbacks if the O-line is good enough. If you've got an offensive line that can just road grade and open up running lanes for quarterbacks, it's good. The problem with the Texans O-line is maybe the worst in the NFL. So, like,
outside the Charger O-line, I mean, have you seen the Charger O-line?
The Chargers O-line is just bad because it's injured, right? Whereas the Texans O-line with all 5 starters, it's like the worst unit in the NFL, right? So we can understand why the Chargers unit is so bad. The Texans, they're just really bad. So it's tougher to protect the quarterback. So I can kind of see like Stroud doesn't really have an offensive lineman he can trust to actually protect him if he decides to go out and run. So I think that might be it. You're right. He's got the athletic talent to be able to do so. Now, you know what? Perfect transition by you, Dylan, because my number 10 is Justin Herbert, and he's the last guy in this tier. I felt Herbert, Darnold, and Nix, like looking at the numbers, all 3 of them look similar. They're incredible resumes in the regular season. Man, their 1 playoff starts they've all made, they look horrendous. I mean, I think actually Herbert has 2 playoff games, I believe. He's had 2 playoff losses, right?
I remember one of them. Well, I don't even know how my team won.
Oh yeah, no, the massive comeback and then all the interceptions to the Texans last year. Justin Herbert has a career 52% completion percentage in the playoffs in those 2 games. Like that's 11th, and like it's not even like Bo Nix has 59% as the 10th place guy on that list. 52%. Like we're talking Anthony Richardson level numbers here for Herbert.
Oh gosh.
When I was looking at that, like to me, there's no way he could be higher than 10. Again, an incredible regular season. Like 5.1% touchdown rate this year. He's been really solid. The yards especially have been impressive. I mean, among quarterbacks in the playoffs, the one stat he really shines at is career yards per game in the playoffs. Passing yards per game, he's 5th, 557.5. But you see why. They've been down and they've been losing. I guess they weren't really down against the Jaguars, but certainly against the Texans. Like, I mean, he kept throwing these interceptions, so they put them behind. So he had no choice but to throw passing yards, and it was empty calorie stuff that didn't lead to points anyway. So, Herbert's honestly just as bad as Bo Nix and Sam Darnold were in the playoffs. I know, like, we crucified Darnold so much. He just doesn't show up in the big games. Man, Herbert, I'm going to watch Speak On It podcast later tonight. Danny Ocean on the Speak On It pod at the Going For Two live YouTube channel. He's talked about it for years. Like, Herbert's a fraud. He's overrated. What has he done? And frankly, the more I see of it, certainly in the playoffs, it makes Danny look like he's right. And he's not just being a hater. So I've got Herbert at 10. As, again, this is like, the highest I could possibly put him.
Interesting. I mean, one of us, obviously we have different takes on different quarterbacks. I mean, you have takes on, we share similar views of Caleb Williams, share different views on Justin Herbert. That's what makes a list. I mean,
I think different factors, right? Like, I am looking into past playoff experiences pretty heavily, as I've kind of noticed with these 3 guys, right? Where it seems like you've put more emphasis just on this year alone. So that's where those differences are going to end up. So it's for the people to decide whose method was their preferred method.
Okay, number 9.
Yeah. Oh, my number 9, right? Yes. Sorry. Or no, I thought I had just done. Okay. Yes. Sorry. Well, this is where it is. This is where Aaron Rodgers ends up. And honestly, Dylan, this stretch of the next 4 picks was maybe my most difficult to rank. And I actually found it really difficult to rank Rodgers. He's had good success in the playoffs. He's won a Super Bowl. So, like, we know he can do it. That was also 15 years ago that he won the Super Bowl. So that shouldn't weigh that heavily. Career touchdown rate is what? It's 6%, the second highest among all quarterbacks. Now, the last few years, outside of his touchdown percent outside of Green Bay is a lot lower, that's for sure. This year, he was 4.8%. That was 10th. Essentially tied with Bryce Young, so it doesn't look so good. But he's had good success in the playoffs. So he's second, actually, among all quarterbacks in passing yards per game in the playoffs, 267.9. So the only quarterback higher than him, he's going to be a lot higher on the list. We'll get to him a lot later. Third in touchdowns per game during the playoffs. I don't know if you know who's number 1 on that list.
Some guy named Brady?
No, I meant of these 14 quarterbacks.
Oh.
We'll get to the name later, but it surprised me, to be honest. I was expecting.
What's the question?
So it's most touchdowns, passing and rushing per game in the playoffs. Rodgers is third. The number 2 guy is who I was expecting to be number 1, but then someone else actually showed up higher at number 1, and that surprised me quite a lot. We'll get to that name in a little bit because he is in this, again, really tough range for me to rank. honestly, Dylan, when I was first looking at the list and like taking the Super Bowl championship into account, I had Rodgers, I think, as high as 6. Ultimately, I decided, though, the 3 guys I moved him below, I have more faith in them winning a playoff game and playing better in the playoffs right now. Again, I might have more faith in Bo Nix winning a playoff game than Aaron Rodgers, but based on how Bo Nix played last year, I don't have any faith that he'll play quarterback better than Rodgers. And Rodgers has shown me enough. Like even in the game against the Ravens on Sunday night, he was putting the zip on the football to the point where like this guy can make every throw still, and he's still throwing with a lot of accuracy. So this was the lowest I could put Rodgers. And right now, I mean, I think Rodgers is just as likely to win a playoff game as Justin Herbert is. And I think, frankly, probably likelier to play better. And that's why they ended up ranked where they were with, we get Herbert at 10 and Rodgers at 9.
Number 9, Mr. Irrelevant. And this is not an irrelevant pick. But Brock Purdy, there's a lot I like about Purdy. I mean, 20 touchdowns, 100-plus passer rating this year. But as we saw on Saturday against Seattle, struggles with pressure and not necessarily the best in cold weather. And let's see, what's going to happen in Philly this weekend? Well, the Eagles have a good defense, and I hear it's not going to be 90 degrees there.
Trying to think who they, because I mean, he obviously went on a Super Bowl run, like who he beat en route to that Super Bowl.
Green Bay and Detroit.
That's true. Yeah, it was Green Bay. Oh yeah, Jordan Love's first or second playoff start. That's right. Yeah, and I guess the Detroit game was in Detroit, wasn't it?
Santa Clara.
It was in Santa Clara. Okay, fair enough. And yeah, the Green Bay game was also in San Francisco. They were the 7th seed. So yeah, fair enough. Okay. Yeah, guess. Yeah. Interesting. I guess it'd be your number 8 now.
Yeah.
Very relevant.
I go from one NFC West quarterback to another, and Sam Darnold.
Oh,
when I looked up the stats, I'm like, Sam Darnold threw for 4,000 yards in a run-first offense this year? Wow. I mean, there's a lot
I don't know that his season was more impressive than Purdy's, though. I think Purdy played much better.
Played all 17 games.
But the games he played, I think he played so much better.
I mean, the throws he made against LA, he didn't make a lot of throws against Sam Suga, but he made some big throws to JSN. I mean, and, quarterback play is not always about throwing passes to the other team, although for whatever reason, the Seahawks like to do that from time to time.
Well, and that's just it. I think Darnold took more sacks than Purdy did. So we talk about like Purdy playing poorly under pressure. I think he plays much better under pressure than Darnold does. I don't know. I can understand most of your takes. Having Purdy behind Darnold, that one's pretty tough for me to see much of a reason.
I mean, if you looked at the game Saturday night, now, yes, going up against Rob Sala's defense with 8 guys I couldn't name off the top of my head, Sam was way more comfortable. I think Sam just bigger, stronger, more mobile than Purdy. Maybe not as mobile, but strong.
And you know what? And I think all those traits, I think you're correct. I think he is bigger. He has a stronger arm. I just think Purdy's a much better quarterback, though. I think all those traits be damned. Purdy just passes with better accuracy. I think he's a better decision maker still. I mean, Purdy's the one that taught Darnold how to like prepare for a week and read defenses and stuff. Like Darnold had no idea what to do before he got to San Francisco, and the second-year guy in the NFL was mentoring him, the 7-year vet on how to like actually play football.
Well, that's what happens when you play for the Jets,
right? Yeah, I know. No one taught him. But still, I don't know. I guess maybe I hate on Sam Darnold too much. Sorry, Sam.
And then watch if you Packers end up facing Sam Darnold in the division.
I'd much rather face Sam Darnold than face Brock Purdy, to be honest. I mean, the part of it. Well, no, I think that's easy take. Part of it is the 49ers just have the Packers number in the playoffs. That is the Packers kryptonite. That is the one team, other than maybe the Eagles, that I don't want to play in the NFC. I'll take any other team in the NFC. I think that's an easier path. If the Packers, luckily, the 49ers and Eagles are playing each other, so they literally at some point maybe only have to face one. like in terms of how the bracket lined up, it's the best possible scenario for the Packers. Because I don't know. I think just past history of Darnold in the playoffs, because this is going to be if the Packers beat the Bears, they'll play Seattle, and it'll be Sam Darnold's second playoff game. Did he learn enough from his first playoff game to make this a difference and win? I'd take the Packers with a much better chance to win that than I would against the Eagles or the 49ers right now. So I'd much rather face Darnold than Purdy. That's for sure.
That's what makes this year's playoffs so crazy because because there's no Allen, there's Josh Allen, but there's no Burrow, Lamar, Mahomes, the Eagles. Lord knows what's going to happen there.
I mean, we've seen like 3 years ago they went to the Super Bowl. 2 years ago, they completely imploded and they lost in the wild card round. Last year, they won the Super Bowl. So, like, we have no, like, the Eagles could just be, who knows? Who really knows?
I mean, would it surprise anyone if the Eagles won the Super Bowl or lost to the Niners?
Yes, you're right. Neither of those situations totally surprise me. You're absolutely correct, Dylan. Anything that happens to the Eagles this year will not be a surprise, no matter what.
Number 7 on my list. I've got an Oregon.
I didn't do my 8. I don't think.
Oh, I thought you did.
Well, my number 8 is CJ Stroud.
Okay, so
I mean, you talked quite a lot about him, so we don't really have to focus on him too much. Other than his playoff performances have been much better than, again, those guys talk about Herbert, Darnold, Nix. That's why I put Stroud ahead of them all. His touchdowns per game haven't been great. He's played 4 games. I think he's produced 4 touchdowns. Passing yards per game in the playoffs, only 244, which is 8th among the 11 quarterbacks that have played in the playoffs. But his yards per attempt is 8.5, which is 1st among all quarterbacks. And his completion percentage is 66.1, which is 3rd among all quarterbacks for their playoff careers. So he has played really well in the playoffs. He's won playoff games for a reason. So much more faith in him winning a playoff game.
Both against number 1 defenses.
Yes, yeah, he's had some tough matchups. He doesn't have to worry this year because unless they get to the Super Bowl and they play the Seahawks, he's always gonna have the team with the better defense in any matchup that he's playing. So he's got that on his side, so he doesn't have to worry about facing the Texans defense. He has the help trying to help him win games. So yeah, that's why I thought Stroud was easily in the tier above Herbert, Darnold, and Nix. But then when I thought about it, thinking, okay, Stroud and Rodgers are about to play each other in the playoffs. Who do I really think will play better in that game? I think it's Stroud, and that's what led me to put Stroud at 8 ahead of Rodgers at 9. But sorry, we'll get to I guess. So you said, sorry, you had who did you have?
No, you
was that Darnold?
No. Darnold was 8 on my list. Darnold is 8 on my list. So
yeah, then I get my 8, so then it would be, I guess, number 7s now.
So who's lucky number 7?
This, honestly, 6 and 7. It's like this for me, and it's not just the meme. These were the 2 hardest to rank. I'm going to go with my unbiased opinion, as much as I'd love to root for my team, and I say I'll put Jordan Love at 7. Now, he's played even better than Stroud in some respects. He's also won playoff games like Stroud. Now, in other respects, again, Love's yards per attempt in his 3 playoff games he's played. 7.7, which is 4th among all quarterbacks. 64.8 as its completion percentage, which I'm pretty sure is higher than his regular season completion percentage. It certainly feels like it. That's 5th among quarterbacks. So he's actually turned some pretty good stats. Those aren't as good as Stroud, but where I think the reason I have him ahead of Stroud is he's been better as a regular season quarterback overall. In just a larger sample size of games, his stats are better than Stroud. Well, a 5.4% career touchdown rate for Jordan Love. That's 5th among these 14 quarterbacks. His touchdown rate this year was 5.2, so a little bit lower, just off his career average, and that put him down to 7th. But that was enough where he ranked in a lot of my metrics. He's ranking between 4th and 7th in almost all of them. The only one was passing yards per game in the playoffs. Among quarterbacks who played the playoffs, among the 11 quarterbacks, he's 9th with only 226 yards. Mentioned it, Bo Nix obviously being one of the lowest at 144. Just hilarious how bad that is. But enough stats do well to give me confidence in Jordan Love, not only on this list, but also for the Packers to be able to win potentially several playoff games here. And if they get the Rams in the NFC Championship game, a team that they have owned, Packers could make the Super Bowl as a 7th seed. I don't think that's wild or outrageous. If they get the Eagles or 49ers in the NFC Championship game, they're probably getting cooked. But the Rams are that one team, just like the 49ers always have the Packers number. The Packers always have the Rams number. Now, the Rams don't always have the 49ers number, so it's not a full true rock, paper, scissors. The 49ers just tend to beat everybody up, which is why it wouldn't shock me if they go all the way and they actually win this year. Despite of how bad it looked last week, it's looked pretty good most of the year. It's just really one bad game for that offense. I don't mean to react to that, but yeah, I have confidence in Jordan Love and the Packers. And I mean, you haven't named him to this point, so it's not a homer take to have him in the top half of this list.
I'll tell you this: Jordan Love is not number 7 on my list. I have an Oregon Duck at number 7.
Marcus Mariota? I didn't think they made. I can't remember colleges. I don't know who else ever played for them. No, but yeah, I guess that's Bo Nix, right?
Definitely not Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, that's true too.
No,
although I think Dylan Gabriel's team actually had more wins than Marcus Mariota's team this year. Maybe not. I can't remember.
Yeah, although the Browns fired the head coach and the Commanders don't have either coordinator, but that's a story for another day. Bo Nix is number 7 on my list. 11 one-score wins this year, and I didn't realize this, but Bo Nix has attempted the most passes of any quarterback in the first 2 seasons.
I suppose. Wow, that is strange. I mean, 17-game seasons, right? So how many guys have had the chance to play 34 games through 2 years? Only a few, but I guess of those few, I mean, Jaden Daniels and May both dealt with injuries the last couple of years. One year, one the other, so they never got those full 34 games. And Caleb Williams is not that good, so he would reach it out. Just kidding. Now I'm being a little harsh, but wow, that is surprising. But I suppose it does make sense to a certain extent.
And maybe I'm ranking Knicks a little higher because of Sean Payton, but I mean, Sean Payton, we know Sean Payton's the Manning head coach and puts a lot on quarterbacks. And the fact that Bo Nix is throwing much, I actually wish Bo Nix would run more because Bo Nix is a really good athlete. Denver's not hosted a playoff game in a decade, hasn't won a playoff game since Super Bowl 50. And the Broncos are 2 wins away from another Santa Clara Super Bowl.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, like I'd put Knicks at 12, but if it was, I'm ranking just thinking, how do I think they'll play as opposed to results based. Like if I was ranking it based on who I think will more likely win, yeah, I definitely think he should be in the top 7 just because of those factors. They're already in the next round, right? So that's the factor, which I suppose makes sense. That maybe makes sense why you put Darnold ahead of Purdy, knowing they're 1 round ahead of them already. So, yeah. I guess it makes sense to have Darnold and Knicks next to each other, just like you and I. Like, we both did that. So, it's just different spots of the rankings. But we clearly view them as similar, which I think makes sense.
Yeah. Number 6 on my list. I don't know if you can see it. You see the picture? You see the picture in the background? That's a new addition to the man cave. And that guy's been on an absolute heater the last 6 weeks. I think Trevor Lawrence has got 19 touchdowns and 1 turnover the last 6 weeks. 4,000 yards, a whole bunch of touchdowns, maybe the greatest season for a Jack quarterback ever, even though a franchise hasn't been around for 104 years like the Packers. But, I think Liam Cohen has gotten the best of Trevor, gotten the best out of Trevor, especially after the first 5-6 weeks. I don't know how we won that Kansas City game, but what I've seen with Trevor is he's not just throwing the ball, but Trevor's running the ball. The Jags are doing design runs. He scored 2 touchdowns against Colts. I think he scored 1 against the Broncos. Trevor is 6'6". You may not watch college football like I do. Trevor ran past the whole Ohio State defense. I've never seen a quarterback run by the whole Ohio State defense. Trevor's 6'6", and I think the one big move the Jags did was get Jacoby Myers. Now with Myers, Thomas, and Parker Washington, those guys have been huge. Etienne in the backfield, and the unsung hero, Brennan Strange. The Jags, Jags are 11-1 this year when Brennan Strange plays. Who had a big game last week? Brennan Strange. So I'm not I don't want to sound biased, but 6 is probably about the lowest I could rank Trevor.
It's funny because almost everything you said is identical. Only I'd go the opposite way and say 6 was the highest I could rank Trevor, and you know what? That is where I put him. So I have Trevor Lawrence at 6 as well. He and Jordan Love are really tough to rank. I think in Stroud, like you throw those three together.
I knew when you said Jordan
time.
Love I knew when you said Jordan Love at 7, Trevor was going to be next on your list.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, like so. There's parts of Trevor that, like, based on the numbers, he should be a lot lower. His career average touchdown rate is 3.7. It's a little bit higher than Bryce Young's, but that is 13th among these 14 quarterbacks. Obviously, a lot better this year, 4.9%. Still only put him 9th. But what matters more is putting touchdowns together in the playoffs. And here's that mystery, Dylan. Trevor Lawrence is first among all 14 of these quarterbacks, I guess 11 that played in the playoffs. Touchdowns produced per game in the playoffs, 2.5. So the times he has played in the playoffs, he has produced pretty well. I mean, they almost beat the Chiefs the one year after the big comeback against the Chargers. I mean, I think it was 2 red zone turnovers is what in the fourth quarter. That's what made the game for the Jags. I think it was Jamal Agnew that fumbled. It was one of those like speedy receiver type guys. They love to just give too many end arounds to. They gave one end around too many and he fumbled on it. And then I think the next possession, Lawrence threw an interception to basically end the game. But either of those plays turned out to be touchdowns. They might have beat the Chiefs that game. So he's played really well in the playoffs, and that's been enough to think he'll continue to play well, especially now that, as you said it, he's on a heater. He's played the best football of his career, probably the last, really since the Chargers game. And I was listening to the Move the Sticks podcast this week. Let's do it almost every week now. Daniel Jeremiah was talking about when he was, because he covers the Chargers and he travels with them for every game. When he was talking with some Jags coaches before the game, they all said the same message to him. All they want is for Trevor to just sling it. Don't overthink it and just be making those first reads. And it seemed like, I don't know, Dylan, if you noticed, like, was that game where his decisiveness seemed to get better against the Chargers? They blew them out. And
I mean, that was a demolition. I've somehow like the Packers don't have the Rams number. The Jags have the Chargers number. I almost wish we played the Chargers this weekend, but
I feel like there's a few teams that have the Chargers numbers, and I mean, against Josh Allen, the Bills for sure. I'd much rather play the Chargers, regardless of past history. Just Herbert's own playoff history.
Although,
I'm play him. So,
I'll admit, I'd rather play the Bills than the Texans.
True, but wouldn't you rather just lost the division and play the Steelers? Like,
no,
the division.
No, I don't want to. No, the Steelers haven't lost a home Monday Night Football games in my lifetime.
Maybe that's how you avoid the Texans. That's way. Okay, interesting. Funny enough.
And then the Chargers beat the Patriots, and we end up playing the Texans or Steelers next week.
With that one would shock. That would be the most surprise. And I'd be less shocked if the Steelers won than if the Chargers won. I think the only team that would shock me more if they won than the Chargers is probably the Panthers.
Yeah, Carolina's not.
Maybe I'm just being hating on Justin Herbert too much.
Carolina's not beating the Rams for the second time in a month.
Yeah, we both have Bryce Young at 14, but we also both have Trevor Lawrence at 6. So to answer your initial question, I don't think it's biased at all. Like, this is, again, I might have moved him down to 8 maybe, but no, I think 6 is actually pretty well placed. Now, based on what we both said, we're both going to have someone in the top 5 that the other was very low on. So that now this is interesting. I have a feeling I know. I guess I don't know. I have no idea where you're going to go from here. Yeah, so I think it's your turn for number 5.
No, you're odd.
All right. I'm very odd. I should know that. Well, and you're going to find this one odd, but honestly, outside of Bryce Young, this was probably the easiest one to rank for me. It's Jalen Hurts. And it's not like Aaron Rodgers, who won a Super Bowl 15 years ago. Like, Jalen Hurts just won the Super Bowl. So I am going to factor that in. And so to me, he couldn't be any lower than 5. Like, okay, the defending Super Bowl champ, that has to factor large because it's not just like it was a miracle season. He's been to another Super Bowl before. In fact, he's the only quarterback on this list that's been to multiple Super Bowls. So,
and outplayed Mahomes in both of them.
Yeah, effectively. Higher end. yes, like he was producing all those rushing touchdowns in that first game. But lower end, I mean, he made the mistake that Mahomes didn't. He had that fumble return for a touchdown. Mahomes didn't have any turnovers. So I think I would say they equally played each other in the first one. But I mean, last year it's undeniable. Hurts totally outplayed Mahomes because even the long passes were there. The dagger that really ended the game. That middle of the third quarter, that huge bomb, was it a 40, 50-yard touchdown to Devontae Smith? That effectively ended the game right there. Because up to that point, you thought, okay, I mean, we've seen Tom Brady come back from 25 down, right? But as soon as they threw that one, they're up by 30. It's okay. I do not think Mahomes has the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history in him for this game. Sure enough. But yeah, I think the dude knows how to win. And to the point of maybe why I was too low on Bo Nix, and maybe your ranking is more appropriate, having him 7 because he knows how to win. Well, that's all Jalen Hurts has done most of his career is just win with the Eagles. Again, some stats aren't great. You talk about how bad of a season he had. He was 4th in touchdown rate this year among these 14 quarterbacks at 5.5%. So I do think we may be overrating how bad it is. That like some of the games where it really went off, it was so bad. But he also won some games passing this year. And so this is back to maybe why I'm also higher on Purdy than you. The lowest of the lows I'm not so concerned about. I'm looking at total scope of the season as more important. One thing that Hurts has done well is produce in the playoffs. 2.2 touchdowns per game in the playoffs. That's 4th. We've already gone through, the other guys in the top 3, although we haven't yet for one of them. That he seems obvious because it's passing and rushing touchdowns combined, which again is why Hurts is so high.
I have a feeling we'll have the same number 1, but that's either here or there.
But number 1 in quarterbacks completion percentage in their playoff careers, Jalen Hurts is number 1, 66.8%. So this guy knows how to complete passes and he knows how to produce touchdowns. That's what we want from our quarterbacks, and he's shown he can win games that way. So I couldn't go any lower than 5 for Jalen Hurts.
Sorry, Saquon, but the Eagles want to ride Jalen Hurts' bum into the end zone.
And maybe they do that too much, and maybe that'll cost them and hurt them. I honestly have no idea. Like you said, they could totally crush the 49ers because their defense is so bad and they just can't stop the run at all or the pass really. Or they can't do anything on offense. They throw 7 yards in the second half and the 49ers win easily and the Eagles are done. Or they ride it all the way to the Super Bowl. Like, who knows? But I'm going to give Jalen Hurts the benefit of the doubt.
Number 5 is painful for me, and I may want a do-over for this one, but Drake May's number 5 on the list. Even though he led the league in passer rating, completion percentage, may win MVP. I am downgrading May a little bit because New England played the easiest schedule in 10 years.
The AFC East. The Dolphins and Jets this year. I mean, the Bills' schedule was maybe
the Jets got more pick sixes than the Jets got turnovers this year.
Well, so it happened, right? The Jets went through the whole season without an interception, right? Man, like even in the CFL, that's wild because there was a big stretch of the year last year in 2025 where the Edmonton Elks didn't have an interception, but even that only lasted like maybe half the season. Like they eventually turned it around. They were starting to be a pick machine, but I definitely remember playing their defense in fantasy because they were priced so low in like DFS styles tournaments because at that point they hadn't had interceptions, and then I played them that first week they got one, and they were so cheap it was so worth it. But like it just baffles my mind that the Jets went an entire season without an interception. And Woody Johnson wanted to stand there and talk about how it was just the quarterback's fault and how the defense was playing good. Like he's like, oh, the defense and special teams are good, but the offense is horrible because of our quarterback. The special teams were fantastic for the Jets this year, but the defense was not. The defense was pretty atrocious.
When the opposing quarterbacks have a 111 passer rating, the defense, and Aaron Glenn's a defensive head coach, and how he still's got a job, I have no idea.
I mean, talent-wise, like this was all about culture building. We knew they weren't going to win games, and we knew that it wasn't very talented. And then the talented defensive players they traded them away at the deadline. So the defense went from bad to even worse because of the quality of players. I don't want to put that all on Glenn. This is a GM problem. That team is so poorly run, and we see why it's an ownership problem. Woody Johnson is the worst owner in the NFL. Now that Dan Snyder's not in the league, I think we can objectively say Woody Johnson's the worst, and that's why they're not in this playoffs, Dylan. And we might go another 15 years without mentioning them if we ever do this list again in terms of Jets quarterbacks. Like, that's something that's so far away from needing to talk about here.
Yeah.
The Patriots did play them twice, so that helps.
And Miami, and we know what the Patriots do the most teams in the AFC.
So somehow they finished worse than the Jets last year, so they actually had a last place schedule.
Yeah, so number 4, I have Jordan Love, and I love watching Jordan Love play. Actually takes a lot of chances. Reminds me a lot of Brett Favre 2.0, but maybe a more athletic version of Brett Favre.
I think, but ability to run, I'd give you that. Yes, Jordan Love seems like faster foot speed. Doesn't maybe have the arm strength that Favre does, but he's still got a pretty strong. That's a fair. I've definitely thought he's more Brett Favre than he is Aaron Rodgers. I've definitely had that conversation, and that's not a good thing, to be honest. Yes, I agree with that.
And I like the fact that Love can go on. I mean, Love won a playoff game in Arlington, and guess what? If the Packers are going to win this year, they're going to be road warriors.
Bears, Seahawks, I can see them going to the NFC Championship game. Yeah.
You really think Jordan Love could win in Seattle against that defense?
Yes, because I don't think it takes much to beat Sam Darnold's offense. I think that'll be another 13-3 game here, but maybe on the other side.
So wait, so wait, is Julius Peppers coming out of retirement to sack Sam Darnold?
Oh, Rashawn Gary's still there. I mean, I know Parsons isn't there, but their plan this year, what it was like for most of the training camp, was without Parsons anyway. So Van Ness and Gary, they can still get the job done.
Okay, so who's number 4 on your list?
You talked about being painful with Drake May. I put him at 4. So 4 and 5, that's not far off. So we're kind of thinking the same. And it's funny. I wondered if you were going to bring this up early because, again, there's 3 quarterbacks that are starting that have 0 playoff experience. I ranked the other 2 at 13-14. So I held that against them to a certain point, but their career numbers, especially touchdown rate numbers, really haven't been good. Drake May has a 5.5% career touchdown rate. That's 3rd among these 14 quarterbacks. And again, that's one of those with Aaron Rodgers with the 6% rate. That's his whole career. Maybe it's unfair to put Rodgers that high because we should just take his numbers, outside of the Packers. If we did, May would be 2nd. This year's touchdown rate was 6.3%, also 3rd. So I almost put him 3rd for that fact. Okay, he was 3rd on both these lists. Should I put him at number 3? But again, just the lack of playoff experience I felt was me docking him. Not having him in the top 3, but instead having him at 4 was docking the lack of playoff experience versus the lots of good winning playoff experience I have in the guys in my top 3. So, but I still put May ahead of Hurts just because, okay, undoubtedly May is playing better quarterback right now than Jalen Hurts is. And that was enough to, okay, Hurts' past experiences in the playoffs doesn't quite measure up to how good May's playing right now. The only problem is the guys I have in the top 3 ahead of him, I think all those quarterbacks have been outstanding this season, and they have playoff experience. So I think 4-5 is actually pretty good for Drake May. It feels like he should be higher, but because he's never played in the playoffs, it's tough to rank him any higher than we have, I think.
Agree. So number 3, I have a feeling of who number 3 is. Is he a certain NFC West quarterback?
Well, there's still 2/3 of the rest of my list is NFC West quarterbacks. So that was a great guess to make, because you are correct.
Did he go to a certain school, Big 12 school, Iowa State? I don't know. Could he be?
I actually have no idea which school any guys went to, but yeah, no, he did. I couldn't remember if it was Iowa or Iowa State, but I knew Purdy went to one of those schools. Yes, you are correct. I have Brock Purdy at number 3. Again, okay, so he's been to a Super Bowl, so we know he can win in the playoffs. He's been to I think 3 NFC Championship games. 2, right? It's to maybe get some revenge against the Eagles if the O-line could protect him, because I mean, I know, and here the 49ers have talked so much smack about that game. They made it sound like they were going to beat the Eagles if Purdy was playing. It was 10-0 when he got injured, and the reason he got hurt is because they couldn't protect him worth anything. The Eagles' D-line was dominating the 49ers. I find it very hard to believe they would have won that game. Prove me wrong, San Francisco. This is it. This is Purdy's chance to prove us all wrong. But I mean, you look at the numbers, he almost should be even higher than this, really. He's first among all these. Actually, forget this list. Brock Purdy is the current active quarterback leader in touchdown percent for his career, 6.3%. All this guy has done is throw touchdowns. He's had 3 seasons above 6%, and he's only had 4 seasons starting. It's crazy. But he was number 1 this year. Touchdown rate among quarterbacks at 7.8%. The one thing is, okay, in his playoff games where he's won and played well, the touchdowns haven't necessarily been there. Only 1.4 touchdowns per game. That's 7th. So a couple guys ahead of him for that reason is maybe they've produced better in the playoff games. Still 3rd in yards per game in the playoffs, 264. He's 3rd in yards per attempt in the playoffs, which, to be fair, that's a Kyle Shanahan stat. The yards per attempt has always been elevated. Even Garoppolo, heck, CJ Beathard's yard per attempt with the 49ers is pretty elevated. So, like, if you're going to attribute anything to the offense being good in that system, it's the yards per attempt. I'll give you that. They could take a lot of yards after the catch, and that can, so the ADOT for a quarterback might not be as high, but the yards per attempt is really elevated. Fair enough. But Purdy still dominates in that category, but he dominates the touchdown categories, unlike those other guys like Garoppolo and Beathard. But yeah, I think he's played so well in the playoff games where he's played and finished. Again, been to a Super Bowl. They might finish the job this year and get it done, but based on from the combination of regular season touchdowns, success especially, and playoff numbers, I easily had Brock Purdy in the top 3.
Number 3 on my list is Justin Herbert. I mean, I can't rank Herbert. I can't rank Herbert any lower than this. Maybe I'm higher than you, but there's a lot of love about Herbert this year, despite having a crappy offensive line that seemingly lost both tackles. Herbert's played magnificently, not just throwing but running. We've seen Herbert run despite the broken hand recently. And what I like about the Chargers this year, despite not having the running game, the offensive line, Chargers have won games multiple ways, whether it be Herbert playing great, whether it be the defense. I feel like Herbert, talent-wise, is just getting into his prime, and now with Harbaugh, we're seeing the true Herbert, and maybe a little like Trevor and Liam Cohen. Harbaugh and Herbert are going to be that duo in the AFC West.
Maybe. We'll see. To me, he still has to prove he can play well in the playoffs. But he's
Peyton Manning once lost a playoff game 41-0.
Fair enough. I mean, to be fair, it's only been 2 games, right? He's only had 2 playoff games.
And one of those, he was up 27-0, and Brandon Staley forgot that Austin Eckler played football.
But I mean, to that point, they scored 3 points in the second half. Like, just do anything in the second half, and you win the game, right? So it's still on Herbert to a certain extent. Just like we're holding it against Hurts, how he's lost some games this year where they didn't do anything in the second half. So I don't know. I mean, again, he'll get the chance to prove me wrong, but the way he's played in the playoffs, he's looked like the worst quarterback. Again, I see that 52% completion in the playoffs. I just can't get over that. That's not just how do you only complete half your passes? Because he's so talented. Like, there's a reason you're putting him at 3. He has every trait you want. The size, the arm strength, really accurate passer, usually a really good decision maker. Last year's playoff game against the Texans aside, he's usually pretty good at avoiding the interceptions. But again, to me, prove he can do it in the playoffs. We'll see.
Hey, good news. Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter are going to be chasing Herbert. They'll be New England. I think New England's got like a bottom 8 defense.
Yeah, and that might be one of the. To be fair, that might actually match up well for the Chargers in that New England might be, of the playoff teams, might be one of the least likely to take advantage of the backup tackles.
Number 2, maybe the MVP. Who knows? But Matthew Stafford. I mean, you saw him flat in Detroit. I think Matthew Stafford is great, but I will admit a lot of what Matthew Stafford's doing this year is Sean McVay driven, and some guy named Puka. I don't know, maybe the best receiver in football.
Let's not forget Devontae.
Yeah, and Devontae Adams is
I
going
mean,
to be back this
he's
weekend.
got what 2 top 10 receivers in the NFL.
No questions asked. But
Yeah.
if Matthew Stafford, one word, if Matthew Stafford is Matthew Stafford a Hall of Fame if he doesn't play another down in the NFL?
I think so.
Then a ring would help.
Yeah, I mean, you get 2 rings and if he wins the MVP this year, that'll really help. And he's for sure like, okay, if you ever put Eli in, you have to put Matthew Stafford in, and that's probably why I'm thinking he will get in, because I think Eli will get in, but I already think right now Stafford's more deserving.
Yeah. I'm guessing you and I are in agreement on 2.
So we had some answers that were unanimous. Bryce Young at 14. The extreme ends were unanimous, right? And then Trevor Lawrence, we both had him at 6. But yeah, I have Matthew Stafford at 2, Josh Allen at 1. Just to highlight some numbers. So Stafford kind of dominates the career playoff numbers. He's 4th in touchdowns per game with 2.2. So he's tied with Jalen Hurts. And basically like 0.03 touchdowns per game less than Aaron Rodgers. So effectively, like, those are the guys that could be considered number 3. Stafford is 2nd in yards per attempt in the playoffs, 8.2. 2nd in completion percentage, 66.5. 1st in yards per game among all these quarterbacks in the playoffs, 299.6 yards per game in his playoff starts. So statistically, he has played so well in the playoffs. It just took him forever to get there, but now that he's there, he's seemingly like he belongs. So yeah, with a Super Bowl win too, I could have made the argument to put Stafford number 1, but I think we both went with Josh Allen because we just think he's the best quarterback who's playing in the playoffs.
If Matthew Stafford had Josh Allen's running ability, he would have been number 1 on my list, but Allen's 1. I do have one question for Allen this year. Without Burrow, Lamar, and Mahomes, does Josh Allen face the most pressure to win in the playoffs?
It feels like we said that about him last year. He has to beat Mahomes this year, right? Like, so I get it, because we just feel like, oh, he has to, because this is the only way he's ever going to do it. But I think internally they feel like if the Chiefs somehow get back to the playoffs next year and the Bills play them, I don't know if the Bills are afraid of them as much as they have been in the past. Let's say. So yes, to a certain extent. I mean, because I think they put tremendous pressure on themselves every year to win the Super Bowl, and you could see it. You could see like each of these losses in these AFC Championship games for Josh, how difficult it's been. So I just think, from that perspective, every year they've lost in the playoffs puts more pressure the next year. So it's probably is the most pressure he's faced in his career going to the playoffs. And if he doesn't win this year, it's going to happen next year. Next year is going to be even more pressure, right? So I think until he wins it, the pressure is just going to keep elevating every year. So yes, you are right. At this moment, this is the most pressure he's ever placed.
And in many ways, if the Bills don't win in Jackson, Sean McDermott's probably on the hot seat. We just saw John Harbaugh get fired. John Harbaugh fired.
And I mean, back to our rankings, I think John Harbaugh is a much better coach than Sean McDermott, who I do think is overrated. And I have wondered if he had a better coach than Sean McDermott, would he have already won a Super
Bowl? What if Andy Reid's coaching Josh Allen and
Sean probably already had 2 Super Bowls?
If not 3.
Like if you had a better defense guy like that could adjust better, they probably don't lose that overtime game to the Chiefs. With 13 seconds left, a better defensive mind wouldn't have let them score that touchdown to tie. Right? Like, it's just like, I know it's bad luck, but it's McDermott. Like, he just doesn't. He's so bad at making adjustments.
Or like the fourth down touch push with Josh Allen when the Chiefs actually ran a play and Pat Mahomes did Pat Mahomes things.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, they did that. Yeah, no, that they did that. Yeah, and the spot was wrong, right? Like, maybe they should have got it, maybe they're not. But you're right. Like, there's certain decisions that, yeah, I feel like McDermott has let him down. You know what, though? If they go and win the Super Bowl this year, then McDermott's there for life, and then I can shut up about being a bad coach. So we'll find out.
And the funny thing is, as Steve Young did back in the day, the Bills win in Jacksonville, that the monkey is off Josh Allen's back. Because could Josh Allen go to Denver or New England or anywhere and win?
Yeah, but I think the monkey will still be on his back until he reaches the Super Bowl. So even if they if they beat Jacksonville, I think that pressure's still going to be on in his back in terms of beating the Broncos again. If it's them and the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, like to me, he'll still probably have more pressure than whoever he's facing. Like these young quarterbacks are already getting this far. They can play loose. And last year, that really didn't help the Broncos against the Bills. Maybe with how much they've won this year, maybe that does. Yeah, I think undoubtedly he's got all the traits. Like we talk about Herbert having all the traits, Josh Allen has all that too. But again, playoff numbers have been so much better than Herbert. And yeah, to reveal it, he is just barely behind Lawrence in terms of touchdowns per game in the playoffs. 2.46, whereas Lawrence is an even 2.5. So they're almost identical, which is, again, testament to Lawrence more than anything. But yeah, 4th in yards per game in the playoffs, 4th in completion percentage. And we've known that for via Josh Allen, okay, the big plays, but it's not always there every time. 65.7% completion in the playoffs. So in spite of, he's won playoff games, multiple playoff games some years. In spite of those losses to the Chiefs in that one year to the Bengals, Josh Allen has played really well. So I think he'll continue to play.
All right, Kyle, thanks for tuning in and thanks for joining me as we rank the playoff quarterbacks. And I have a question. Where would Lamar rank on your list?
He's probably ahead of Hurts. Well, I don't know. He's probably right there with Hurts. He'd be 5 or 6, I think. The track record's there, especially in the regular season for Lamar, and he has won in the playoffs before. Yeah, I would think 5 or 6.
I think Lamar would have been impossible to rank. I know I'm probably ranking him too low, but then I'm ranking him too high. Lamar would have been impossible for me to rank.
Fair enough. Okay. So I think my answer is okay. It would have been difficult for everyone.
You can check out Kyle going for 2, all kinds. And Kyle will be one nervous wreck watching a Saturday night with the Green Bay Packers taking on the Chicago Bears. And, of course, my Jags are facing Buffalo Bills this Sunday at 1 o'clock at CBS. By the way, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson did the last Bills-Jags playoff game in Duval County.
Tyrod Taylor, right?
And Jalen Ramsey intercepted a late pass.
Yeah, Blake Bortles versus Tyrod Taylor, man. What the days?
We were 3 minutes from Blake Bortles against Nick Foles in a Super Bowl.
Oh, the fumble recovery that should have been. Yeah, no, that was actually pretty heartbreaking to watch the Jags lose it on that. Not get that. Was it Dion Lewis or was it James White? It was one of those two satellite backs. Anyway. Sorry to bring up bad memories, but thank you, Dylan. This was a great idea. I had a lot of fun making this ranking and talking it through with you. Just to let people know, if you follow me on Twitter at Senra Says, right now, Dynasty 6-pack, we're on a bit of a hiatus, but we'll return for our Season 2 premiere at the end of January. And in that first episode, we will reveal the Trade of the Year award winner. And so right now, my pinned tweet on Twitter, it's a thread, and in there are 2 polls right now, our semi-finalists. 3 host-submitted trades that me, myself, Jamie Prog and Raul Natarajan, we all submitted. And then the viewers and listeners ended up submitting about 15 trades. We each nominated from those submissions 3 more. So we have 6 trades right now possible in contention for a trade of the year. So if you'd like one of those 6 trades to get to the finalists, be sure to vote. And the winner will be revealed in a couple weeks from now.